I'm really excited for this AMX Kids. Actually, I was just prepping. I was organizing what's about to take place here in the next 20 or so minutes. And I started to realize how excited I am to record/produce this episode of AMX Kids. Because what you're getting today, and this is a little bit different than every week. Normally each week we take a book or a section of a book and we dive into the learning principles. This week, AMX Kids 29, the 29th week that we've done AMX Kids, we're showcasing all of the books that I've talked about, discussed, studied, shared with you on AMX Kids in these last 29 weeks. Was that about 7 months or so? So I'm excited. There's 12 books that we're going to dive into. I took some notes here, just some brief. My hope, right, and once I hit record, I'll re-share this again. My hope is that you, listener, watcher, whether you're old or whether you're young, pick one of these books and read them. There's so much value that goes into reading these books. It's not just something, it's not just something that I say to do because I want to say to do. It's because I believe in it. I believe in the power that is books. I believe in, sorry, I'm multitasking here. I believe in what's in these books. So I highly encourage you to pick one, read it. Let's have some fun. Let's dive into AMX Kids 29, a showcase of AMX Kids books. Remember, all of these books, if you like one of them, if you want to read one of them, and you want to go back, I'm going to give you the reference as to where you can find it in AMX Kids. Make sure you subscribe to the Spaniard Show. That's your easiest way to do it. Subscribe to the Spaniard Show on iTunes. You're going to see them all nicely cataloged there under the AMX Kids banner. And voila, there you have it. You can pick a book and read. All right, let's dive in to the show. This is what you'll actually hear on the podcast feed. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my young friends, and welcome to another episode of AMX Kids. I'm really excited to produce and record this episode today because we're not just going to talk about one book. We're going to talk about 12 books. Now, fear not, it'll be a short snippet of each book I wanted to share with you. So this is the 29th week that I've been doing AMX Kids. So 29 weeks of picking a kid's book and talking about it in that episode or talking about parts of kids' books. It's a celebration of learning, and it's an adventure. Why do I read? I read for a lot of different reasons, but one of those is the sense of adventure, the sense of freedom, the sense of imagination and curiosity and creativity, and it's a way for me to just get, it's like watching a movie, except it's more action-oriented than watching a movie. So for that, I want to share with you, now I have 12 books to my right, and I'm going to share with you a snippet from each book. Now, here's the deal. Here's what I hope happens. First of all, that you sit there and give me an open mind. Look, you're young. I understand it. There's other things you want to do. I want to play video games. I want to go outside. Hopefully, you want to go outside and ride your bike. But trust me, just sit and absorb. If you're going to give me one thing, just give me an open mind. For the next 20 or 25 minutes, give me an open mind and then make a commitment. Make a promise right here. Before I dive into this expose of books, this showcase of books, promise me that you at least consider, if I say one thing that interests you, that you at least consider reading one of these books. That's all I want. You don't got to promise you're going to read the book, but promise me that if I say one thing that interests you, excites you, piques your curiosity, makes you go, that you at least consider reading these books. They're fun, they're easy to read, they're filled with lessons. Let's dive in to book numero uno. When I sat down to start the AMX Kids series on the Spaniard Show, I thought, what book am I going to start with? One of the books that stuck with me from the time I was young, above and beyond all others, is this right here, Hatchet by Gary Paulson. So this is AMX Kids. If you want to go back and listen, this is AMX Kids 1 through 4. So Hatchet is a story of adventure, discovery, curiosity, growing up fast. We have Brian, our main character, who's going to Canada to see his dad. His parents are recently divorced, dealing with a lot of stuff that life is throwing his way. This book is about adventure. It's about a plane crash in the middle of nowhere. It's about surviving. It's about resourcefulness. It's about curiosity. It's about fear, right? Fear and overcoming that fear, dealing with adversity, growing up fast. If you're in a situation where you're dealing with some of those ideas, fear and feeling like you have to grow up fast and take on responsibilities before your time, this, my friends, Hatchet by Gary Paulson, is a book for you. Let's move on to The Breadwinner. This is AMXkids number 5 through 8. Now, mind you, all of these books are on my website, charliespaniard.com/reading list. They're going to be in the show notes as well. So fear not, you will have links and direct access to these books. So The Breadwinner. I remember clearly I had just finished Gary Paulson's Hatchet. I had to pick a second book. I didn't know what book to pick. There's so many awesome kids books. When you dive into kids books, you're going to realize how many awesome, valuable books there are to read. I didn't know which one to read. My partner, my friend Dred, said to me, you should check out The Breadwinner. Now, there's a series of books written by Deborah Ellis pertaining to The Breadwinner. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is The Breadwinner. The Parvana, our 11-year-old young lady living in Afghanistan, she's put in a situation where she has to take on responsibility. She has to become the breadwinner of the family, the person who essentially runs the family. She's young. She shouldn't have to be in this position. But this book is a great example. It's a cultural exploration. We're in Afghanistan. We learn about the cruelty and travesties done upon people. She names in part here, she talks about the Taliban, what it's like living under the Taliban rule. This is a tremendous book of responsibility, of hard work, of the realities of life. The realities of a tough life, and how you and I, I'm sitting here in Pennsylvania recording this show right now. I'm fortunate. And a book like this makes you realize, it builds your awareness to how the world is, but also it makes you appreciate what you do have, because too often we take things for granted. The Breadwinner by Deborah Ellis, tremendous book. Moving on to the next one, and I'm going to say this is one of my favorite books. Not only favorite kids books, but favorite books I've ever read. So, Way of the Warrior Kid. I grew up a wrestler. I grew up loving training, and Rocky was my hero from the time I knew who Rocky was, and that's all I wanted to do and to be, was to train and be like Rocky Balboa. This book, Way of the Warrior Kid, written by Jocko Willink, who's a former Navy SEAL, who's an absolute stud in himself. This book, Way of the Warrior Kid, is about developing confidence. It's AMXkids episodes number 9 through 12. Way of the Warrior Kid talks about our friend Mark, who's 11. He doesn't get good grades. He's a weakling. He doesn't have many friends. He gets made fun of. How many of you deal with that? I absolutely know that I dealt with it when I was young. So this is Mark's story. Mark's Uncle Jake, comes and spends the summer with him. His uncle happens to be a Navy SEAL. So this book takes place during the course of that summer, going from 5th to 6th grade, when Mark learns about discipline, learns about commitment, learns about push-ups and pull-ups and studying, and how you become confident by way of work. You don't just wake up and be confident. You become confident by way of hard work. This book chronicles Mark's mission. What is it? From wimpy to warrior, the Navy SEAL way. Absolutely. If you're dealing with any sort of confidence issues, this book is a tremendous read. And I'll tell you what, I'm wearing this watch right now and all the time because it's a reminder, something that laid in this book. So that's a real action that came from this book. Moving on to the next one. Now, this is a good one. This is a classic. When I would ask people, hey, what book should I read on AMXkids? This one, and one of the other ones I'm going to mention here soon, were the two most prominent. This is a classic, The Outsiders, written by S.E. Hinton. Now, listen to this. Author S.E. Hinton, this is AMXkids, episodes number 13 through 16. S.E. Hinton wrote this book to sift through, to get through the obstacles and challenges that she was facing in her young life. I believe she started writing the book when she was 15 and then finished it at 16. This is a real life story about dealing with your problems, dealing with your challenge that you have as a youngster, as a teenager, as an 11, 12, 13, 15-year-old. It is a little bit advanced in its content, right? So I would definitely recommend low teens to upper, low to mid-teens being appropriate, maybe a little bit preteen, but this is going to help you deal with the problems, the social problems, fitting in, social cliques, social groups. Think of junior high school. If you're in junior high, you know how it is. It's extremely tough. You got to fit in with this group. You got to fit in with that group. They say this. They think I should do this. They think I should do that. Pony boy, he knows who he is in his heart, but he feels this pressure from the outside sources. The Outsiders is a great book. It's a great read to help you talk about fitting in, dealing with adversity, finding your way in social groups, and to help you sift through the challenges that you face. Now this one is wonderful. This one is great. This one holds a special place in my heart. ¿Por qué? Porque yo soy el español. I'm the Spaniard. That's why. Ferdinand the Bull, the story of Ferdinand. I was at my brother's house, my sister-in-law's house, a couple months ago, and they were watching a movie, and I heard Ferdinand the Bull, and I thought, whoa, that sounds really cool. What's that about? And my sister-in-law told me, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to read this book. This is the story of Ferdinand, big and strong and powerful bull, and he should fight. They tell him, Ferdinand, you should fight. You're a big, strong, powerful bull. You should fight. But guess what? Ferdinand doesn't want to fight. He wants to smell the flowers. That's all he wants to do is smell the flowers. And he feels the pressure coming from the outside. You're not alone. When you feel this pressure, you're not alone. Understand that is what Ferdinand will help you do. It'll help you understand what's important to you, and it'll bring back to light. Our good friend Mr. Rogers quote that one of the best gifts you can give anybody is the gift of your honest self. Ferdinand stays true to himself. I recommend you stay true to yourself. That is Ferdinand, episode AMXkids number 17. Moving on, this is AMXkids episodes number 18 through 22. The either Outsiders or this book, Where the Red Fern Grows. Where the Red Fern Grows. Outsiders, Where the Red Fern Grows. Two of the most requested books to cover on the show. Where the Red Fern Grows is about adventure, discovery, wonder, and wander. Wandering in the Ozark Mountains, wondering what's out there, getting a pair of dogs, training your dogs, appreciating, wanting to develop them into being raccoon hunters, going out and about finding your way. Look, it's a big open world. When you're in the Ozark Mountains, as Billy tells us, it's huge. It's hills, it's woods, it's forests, it's everywhere. And he's got to find his way. So this, not only is this a story about adventure and discovery, but it's about adversity. It's about commitment. It's about purpose. It's about direction. It's an absolutely tremendous read, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. And that is AMXkids 18 through 22. Now, I mentioned Ferdinand having a place in my heart because of my connection to Spain and bullfighting in Spain, the history and culture. This book, and actually we have two more libros de español. This book, it was a motion picture. It was a major motion picture, and it was a great motion picture. And I cried when I sat there and watched it with my 5-year-old daughter, and she said, Dad, why are you crying? I was crying because of how much it means to me, Gracie June. Right here you got it, my friends. Coco, the story of Miguel, the story of a boy with a dream, the story of a boy with a hero, the story of a culture, the story of Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, Day of the Dead in Mexico. This is a story of pursuing your dreams. This is a story about the importance of family. This is a story about heroes, understanding heroes, who they are, what they stand for, the pursuit of something special that you hold near and dear in your heart. That, my friends, is the story of Miguel, and that is the story of Coco. Read the book, watch the movie. Read Ferdinand, watch the movie. Coco is AMXkids number 23. Do I have like every favorite book? Is every one of these books my favorite book? I think they absolutely are. So here's the deal. If you are like me, you are afraid of nearly everything. I'm not kidding. That is not hyperbole or an exaggeration. It is true. To this day, as a 37, almost 38-year-old man, I am afraid of a lot of things. But what I learned in my life, granted, when you're a professional fighter, being afraid is not a good thing, right? I'll tell you what's better is that if you are afraid, that you move forward even though you're afraid. I haven't met one professional fighter who says that I've asked or it's come up, are you afraid? Are you scared? I haven't met one who says, I love it. I just want to do it. 99.9% of us. Of course we have fear and anxiety. We're going into a fist fight with another human being who's trained and trying to take our head off. Of course we're scared. The trick, my friends, is moving forward in the face of fear. And that is what this book, this is the first book that I've read to my kids who are 5 and 2, to which they were absolutely tuned in. But my daughter, when I got to the edge of the book, when she saw the pages dwindling down, she actually let out in, "Aw." I thought, oh my gosh. She just let out an "ah" because she doesn't want the book to end. But I needed to hear it from her own mouth. So I said, "Gracie, why did you say ah?" And she said, "Because the book's about to end." This is our story about our friend Mikey. Mikey's afraid of everything. And then Mikey finds a book, the Dragon Prince book, about a young boy, about a young dragon prince who overcomes his fears. So if you're sitting there and you're afraid of something, if you're afraid of everything like me, if you're a warrior, dive into this book, Mikey and the Dragons, and learn the idea of leaning into your fears. Learn the idea of facing your fears as opposed to running that way. Because Mikey doesn't run, Dragon Prince doesn't run, I don't run, and you're not gonna run. Mikey and the Dragons, again, by our Navy SEAL friend, Jocko Willink. You know, I think a lot about the message I try to put out there. I think a lot about my own message. I think, if it were to come down to one thing, what would it come down to? What is that message? Obviously, lifelong learning is the name of the game. Books and reading, asking questions, that is the name of the game. That's what I stand for. That's what I believe in. But if there were to be a number 2 or a 1.1, number 1.1 message, it is perseverance. Just keep going. Don't stop. This book, After the Fall. So Where the Red Fern Grows was AMXkids 18 to 22. Coco was 23. Mikey and the Dragons is 24. AMXkids 25 is right here, After the Fall. How Humpty Dumpty got back up again. If you feel, and I'm not kidding, if you're 38, 37 like me, if you're 45, if you're 30, if you're 20, if you're 10, I don't care. Get one of these books and read them. Humpty Dumpty, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. We all know Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. But guess what? What happened after the fall? That's what this book explores. And guess what? Humpty got up again. That's the name of the game. If you take one message from all of the things I talk about, all of the books, all of the everything that I talk about, let it be that you get back up again. After the fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. This is a story of perseverance. And once again, it caveats off the previous message of overcoming your fears. If you feel yourself getting knocked down time and time again and you need encouragement, right here, After the Fall, get your copy. I love traveling. I love culture. I love exploration. I love food. I love traditions. I love people that are different and asking them questions and learning about their way. This book right here, Mirth meets Earth. This is about a most curious space pup, Mirth, who travels the world. The subheading is Discover the Continents with the Most Curious Space Pup. If you listen to this AMXkids number 26, you're going to hear and learn some astounding, interesting, fun facts about the 7 continents. You're going to learn which continent Spanny has been to, 5 of the 7 continents. This is a book about travel. It's about exploring the world. It's about culture. And it's simply about the continents. Can you name the continents? Can you name the 7 continents? Tremendous book, Mirth meets Earth. I have a direct tie to the illustrator of this book. She is my friend's wife. Tremendous book. Get your copy, Mirth meets Earth. Let's talk a little bit more about culture. We got 2 more. Stick with me, folks. I know it's a lot. This is a lot of books, but I wanted to do this because I want to showcase these books in the event with the hope that you will pick one of them. Food Fight Fiesta. Who doesn't want to partake in the world's biggest food fight? I do. Food Fight Fiesta, talking about La Tomatina in Buñol, España, Buñol, Spain. This is the world's biggest food fight. This book explores how the food fight came to be. In this episode, in AMXkids 27, I dive further into the history of La Tomatina. They actually put plastic on buildings so they can schedule food fights. They actually have rules to the game when it comes to having the world's biggest food fight. This is a little bit about culture. It's a lot about fun. It's a little bit more about the history, and culture and tradition in España. Food Fight Fiesta, A Tale About La Tomatina. Get a copy, folks. And remember, all of these books are on my website, charliespaniard.com/reading list. I will have a link to that page by way of the show notes in this podcast episode. And the last book is an extremely special book. And I'm glad that I happened to do this showcase of AMXkids book, in that this was the last book I covered on AMXkids 28, because it's an extremely special book. It's a book you should get for your young son or young daughter. It's a book you should get to help support the author of this book, Scott Sutton. Scott Sutton, I was fortunate to learn of his story by way of some contacts that I have in my life. This episode, AMXkids 28, is by far the most successful, most viewed, most listened to episode of AMXkids that I've produced thus far. I encourage you get yourself a copy of this book, I Love You Like, by Scott Sutton and Alec Traub. This book was written by Scott Sutton as he was diagnosed with cancer. He knew that this would be a legacy for his son, Alec. This is his lasting piece to let his son know how much he loved him. The episode, AMXkids 28, it's a tremendous episode. It's an exploration of Scott's life. It's an exploration of this book, of writing books in general. It's a celebration of learning, and it's a special celebration of Scott Sutton's life. Do yourselves a favor. Help support. How about this? Help support a great cause. Help support a great family. And obtain a special message to read to your young son or daughter. And if you don't have a son or daughter, read it and appreciate the life of Scott Sutton. This is in AMXkids 28, I Love You Like, a legacy from a father to a son, from Scott Sutton and Alec Traub. That's it, my friends. This has been an exploration of all the books that we've talked about on AMXkids. This is it. I love it. I sincerely hope that you pick one of these books. Remember, the link is going to be in the show notes on the podcast feed. The link is charliespaniard.com/reading list. Refresh it, pick one. If one of them you thought, yeah, I can relate to that, pick up the book and read it. These are kids' books. They're easy. They're fun to read. That's what I hope from you. As always, every ounce of support to the Spaniard Show is greatly appreciated. You can visit my website, charliespaniard.com, to check out my speaking programs. I have one this afternoon where I go and I just love books in front of the kids. I share my story, and I love books in front of the kids. Encourage them to read. And this is not just a message for young people. It's a message for old people like us as well. Lifelong learning is crucial to a vibrant and a full life. And I want to plant that seed in your mind and have it expand, have you pick up some books, have you read it, have you commit to lifelong learning. All of that is at charliespaniard.com. You can support the show for as little as $1 a month by way of patreon.com/charliespaniard. I'll be giving away our first giveaway this week via patreon.com/charliespaniard. Help support the show for as little as $1 a month, and you get some cool kickbacks and swag in return. Check it out, patreon.com/charliespaniard. Read a book, folks. Whew, that was a lot of talking in not a lot of time. Holy moly, my jaw is tired. My jaw is tired, but there we did it. We blew through them. We got through 12 books. AMXkids 29, hold on, showcase of books. Whew, we did it. That's it, folks. Pick up one of these books. The link will be in the show notes. All of them are at charliespaniard.com/reading list, and that's it. See ya.